Okay, this is the next project, and I'm doing it a little bit ahead of my classes because I'd like for them to have a close-up look at it before I demo it in class. So it's this little kitten. It's a real cutie. Of course, the eyes are the big deal here, but we want to give her. I think her name was Tater Tot. Yeah. Anyway, we want to give Tater Tot a fluffy, soft look. So sometimes that can be a little hard to do. Uh, I've decided to use my favorite triad here. Let's see, which way do I show this? Anyway, with the Quin Gold, the Burnt Scarlet, and the Ultramarine, and I've mixed some colors so that the three mixtures that I have in my palette are made up of those. And one is a mostly gold. One is sort of a reddish brown. And then I took the reddish brown and added more ultramarine and got this nice gray. Okay. So, and we'll talk about mixing and what maybe to use in class. Oh, I've got some run back here because I've been painting on it, warming up, because it's always a good idea to warm up a little bit before you paint, or warm up on the easy areas. So you can see a little bit of an underpainting here. On the face, let me check, this shows up, yeah. On the face, basically, I've got multiple layers built up, and you just keep building till you get what you need. So I have mostly on the face anyway, used this number 6 black velvet brush. Let's start out up here in the ear. Now the thing about using this small brush is that I'm able to get about the right amount of water down because we're working wet in wet, but it's a very controlled wet in wet. In fact, I would call it more wet on damp. So I am going to add some water in here. And the thing is, I'll miss a lot of spots, and that'll actually help. I am stroking my brush in the direction that I want the hair to go. Okay, so here, now let's look at our color. This is really pretty gray. So I think I'm going to start with my grayer mixture, which I have to kind of stir this up because the blue tends to sink to the bottom. And let's just put a little color in here. Again, going the direction of the hair. Now that doesn't mean that each one of these strokes makes a hair. But you may wind up with a few places that kind of indicate a directionality. In fact, you can see that looks pretty nice. So there may be a few long hairs coming out here. Maybe some areas will be a little darker. I'm definitely going to build this up, but I want a soft edge down here. So I'm going to add a little bit of water right in here, because this is still like the underpainting. All right, well that's working. That's working better than I expected. You'll see that I had already filled the eyes in with the gold. None of these white areas, I made air quotes there, none of these white areas are really white. They're kind of beigeish. Next to the stronger darks, they look white. And there's also some shading on them. So I probably am still going to add more shading over here eventually. I'm going to take a little bit of the, ooh, I think I'll take a little bit of the gold. Whoops, wait a minute. Got to add water. Tell you what, I'll put a little bit of gold in my water so you can see where my water went down. How's that? That'll make us all happy. So you can see that I've been playful adding. I think I'm going to add a little bit more water. Okay, so we've got that. Let's take a little bit. Realize that most of this reddish tone is going to be covered up, but this gets us into a dark area. The other thing that it does is that maybe little bits of it will be left hanging out at the end, and that's going to give the cat a much richer overall look. Okay, so let's see. So we'll just do some of that, and we'll come into some of those areas that are actually white. Now here I'm on dry paper, and I'm going to add a little bit of water. So you can kind of see how this starts out. Okay, there. Oh, while that's drying, let's work on the eye. So let's put a little bit of water down here in the bottom half of the eye. This isn't absolutely necessary, but it's probably safer, especially if you're new to watercolor. So I'm going to do it that way. And then I'm going to take my gray, and I'm going to add it in up here at the top and come down. And you can see when we hit the water, it's going to get softer and lighter. Something like this. Not quite as light as that, though. That'll be later. So that would be like my first go over of the eye. See, down here, this area, just right here, this area's got a lot of dark. See, you can see behind the shoulder, particularly, there's more darks. So let's go ahead and start adding more darks. And I think the shoulder, which I didn't put in the drawing. I'm trying to put this out where you can see it without laying it in the water. Let's do this. Let's get rid of that and move the water. Maybe that'll work. Okay, so I'm going to take my gray, and I'm not going to re-wet this. And one of the reasons is this is still damp. Now, this is crucial. It's really important that this be still damp-ish. And the way that I can tell is, because I could re-wet it, but the way I can tell is when I touch the paper over here and then touch it over here, this feels cooler to my finger. So let's just, again, directional lines. Let's get a little stronger paint. Okay. Like that. Okay, but we don't want to leave it like that. But remember, this paper is a little bit damp, and that's going to make it easier for this to happen. This is where there's some longer hair. The face has got, of course, shorter hair on a lot of it. So, and the shoulder hair right here is actually coming downward. And so I kind of want to pull it this way. Now this is on a dry area. This is the general pattern of building up the kitty. It's a matter of just doing layers and layers of just that in different proportions of color, depending on what suits you. You don't have to get the color exactly like the cat's color in all these places. It's just a matter of getting some variation so that it's not boring. You remember the bird that we did recently? We did that with those same three colors. Now the bird's a little more colorful, but the point is that you can use these muted colors, and these were all muted before they were put on the bird, and get something that feels very colorful and is still more or less true to life. Okay, now what was I doing? I don't remember. Okay, here I'm going to soften this edge right here on the kitty's eye a little bit. It's not too important because it's going to get multiple layers here. So let's see. What could we do with the back of the kitty's ear is black. And I do want that soft edge, and I would like to hide my line that I made. Now see, I'm putting down very little water with this brush. And I'm not going to put any down over here. We're going to have that kind of overlap and show. Let's see. It would be easiest to turn this. Always turn your kitty at the same time. So, a lot of these little hairs are going out this way. And I'll do this, I guess. Oh, that looks like a mess. That looks positively awful because of all the white that's still left in there. Let's go back with some water and soften it up a little bit more. And possibly, again, I've washed the brush out, but still got a little bit of water in it. So let's just pull it along here. I may have a little too much water there. Now this can be the first layer. I can come back with more darks, and I definitely am going to need more darks. But I want to get kind of that feeling of softness in there. And this is how we get it started. You can see over here on this here, the dark of that leading edge of the ear right there. Okay, so I think the kitty does have a little bit of warmth in the ear. And this next time, I'm going to come back with a little bit of the yellow, I think. And just pull. It doesn't even have to go everywhere. It could just go on part of the ear. That is so weak that I don't even need to soften it. I could just leave that just like that. All of these areas, like around the nose and around the eye, all of those have got shading. You may not even notice it in the picture unless you know to look for it. But all these areas that curve in, as it goes in where the lip or whatever you want to call this connects with the nose, there's a curvature going in. And if you don't shade that, the kitty is going to look cartoonish. And the same thing is going on up here above the eye. So let's say that's dry enough, it's not going to run on me. So I'm going to come in here with a little bit of water. And I'm just going to shade. Whoa, 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 that's more than I wanted. Okay. Squeeze the brush out and pull some of this up. Okay, there we go. There is some tone in nearly all of this area because the kitten has little gray hairs interspersed in the white. So let's try to get that part right next to the eye a little darker. Now this seems almost extreme right now because we haven't outlined the black around the eye. But I'm just getting that right in there. You know what? This area right here needs a little more shading. So I'm going to dampen that. Pull up the extra because I am going ahead with color right now. And I've picked up right here where there's not so much liquid and just gotten color on the tip of my brush. And I can come in here. Oh, let's see, it's right there that I was working, yeah. See, that's too dark. So let's squeeze the brush out and let's pull a little of it up. Didn't mean to put so much color right there. So you can see that's the technique, and that's what I'm looking to have happen. Really need a little bit more color right down here too. And I need to soften that edge. I hadn't pre-wet that little area there. So you can see you're working with tiny amounts of paint in tiny places. And it's really pretty easy to control the paint when you're doing tiny things like this. I want to mention while we're talking about that though, that I only use a small brush when a small brush is needed. It's always better to use the biggest brush for the job, but I think this is the biggest brush for this job. Okay, so that's all for the video, but I wanted to kind of give you just a starter on it so you could see it up close, because I know sometimes in class it's a little hard to see what I'm doing. So that's all. Bye-bye.